It's no fault of Elvis, he loved the song.
Dolly Parton, America's sweetheart and the irreplaceable queen of country music, has spent decades captivating the world with her voice and irresistible charm. But behind that dazzling smile and flawless image lies another story, one filled with tension, betrayal, and hidden rivalries that were never meant to see the light of day. On stage, everyone adored Dolly. They praised her in interviews, stood proudly beside her at award shows, and spoke as if she could do no wrong. Yet behind the scenes, the picture was very different. Slammed doors, heated arguments, and friendships that fell apart beyond repair. One singer swore never to work with her again. Another tried to steal her biggest hit. Though Dolly has always tried to keep it all quiet, the truth has finally surfaced, revealing the 5 stars she simply couldn't stand working with. So what really happened behind the curtains? And why do some of those old wounds still remain open today? Once you uncover the truth behind that glittering spotlight, you might never see Dolly Parton the same way again. Her rise to stardom is nothing short of extraordinary. Most people know her for the big blonde hair, the glittering outfits, and that angelic voice that can melt hearts, but few realize how much drama lies behind the spotlight. From a barefoot girl in the hills of Tennessee to one of the most beloved icons in music history, Dolly's rise was anything but easy. She earned her crown as the Queen of Country not just through talent, but through relentless drive and determination. Known for her kindness and endless positivity, she's built an image of grace and generosity. But even someone as warm-hearted as Dolly hasn't escaped the storms of fame, the rivalries, misunderstandings, and quiet tensions that come with living under the spotlight. To really understand the feuds and friction that shaped her career, you first have to understand the woman herself, someone who runs from drama, yet somehow always finds it waiting at her door. Born on January 19, 1946, in a one-room cabin in Locust Ridge, Tennessee, Dolly Rebecca Parton came from humble beginnings. She was one of 12 children in a close-knit but struggling family. Her father, Lee Parton, was a hard-working farmer and construction worker who couldn't read or write, but to Dolly, he was the wisest man she ever knew. Her mother, Avi Lee, gave birth to 12 children before turning 35, and passed on her love for music, faith, and storytelling, gifts that would shape Dolly's destiny. For the Partons, music wasn't a luxury, it was life itself. With no money for entertainment, the children sang in church, learned to harmonize on the porch, and found joy in the melodies that rose above the mountains. It was there, in that little cabin, that a legend was born. From a very young age, Dolly Parton's talent was undeniable, so much so that her family quickly realized she was destined for something greater. At just 10 years old, the little blonde girl was already performing on local radio and TV shows in Knoxville, captivating audiences with her pure voice and natural stage presence. Not long after, she achieved what many only dream of, stepping onto the legendary Grand Ole Opry stage, marking the beginning of her incredible musical journey. Right after graduating high school in 1964, Dolly packed her bags, left her small Tennessee hometown, and set off for Nashville, with no money, no connections, and only one thing to rely on: her immense talent and an unshakable dream of stardom. She began her career writing songs for other artists, but deep down, Dolly knew she wasn't born to stay behind the scenes. She was meant to shine in the spotlight. In 1967, she released her first country hit, Dumb Blonde, a clever, confident song that proved she was far more than just a pretty face. That same year, she joined the Porter Wagoner show, and from that moment, everything changed. Every week, millions of viewers tuned in to watch Dolly light up their screens beside Porter Wagoner. Their duets became instant sensations. Audiences couldn't get enough of their chemistry, harmonies, and Dolly's irresistible charm. By the early 1970s, she decided to step out on her own, launching a solo career that no one could stop. Then came 1973, when Jolene turned into a timeless classic, followed by I Will Always Love You, a song that would go on to touch hearts around the globe. Years later, Whitney Houston would transform it into one of the biggest hits in history. But make no mistake, Dolly still owns the rights. That one song earned her millions, yet true to her humble nature, she never boasted about it. By the 1980s, Dolly Parton was everywhere, on the radio, in movies, and even on merchandise shelves. She starred in 9 to 5, alongside Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, proving that she wasn't just a country singer. She was a full-fledged entertainer, a woman capable of conquering every stage she set foot on. Then came Dollywood, her very own theme park, which opened in 1986 in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. While other stars were busy buying yachts or luxury mansions, Dolly chose a different path. She built a park to bring joy to her hometown and boost the local economy. But don't mistake her generosity for innocence, because Dolly Parton isn't just a musical legend, she's also one of the sharpest businesswomen in showbiz. She has written thousands of songs, earned countless Grammy Awards and Lifetime Achievement honors, and even secured a place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Not bad for a girl who once grew up without running water. Yet beyond all the fame and fortune, it's her kindness that shines brightest. Through her Imagination Library project, Dolly has donated millions of books to children around the world, making sure every child has the chance to read and dream big. For decades, Dolly has maintained her image as sweet, humble, and above all, untouched by drama. But even America's Southern Angel has her limits. Behind the sparkle and that signature smile lies a world of untold stories, rivalries, betrayals, and people who underestimated her or tried to claim her success as their own. And one thing's for certain, Dolly Parton never forgets. She may have smiled through it all, but behind the scenes, Dolly faced her share of conflicts, tension, and heartbreak that time could never erase. And one of the earliest, and most complicated, of those feuds came from the very man who helped launch her career, only to later try to take control of it. What began as a perfect partnership would soon turn into one of the most dramatic breakups in country music history. Dolly Parton and Porter Wagoner, a partnership once seen as the golden duo of country music, but behind the bright stage lights lay far more tension than anyone realized. Before Dolly became a global superstar, Porter Wagoner was already one of the biggest names in the business. With his charm, soulful voice, and magnetic stage presence, he reigned as the shining star of the Porter Wagoner Show, one of America's most popular country music programs in the 1960s. On stage, Porter dazzled audiences with his flashy rhinestone suits and effortless charisma. Off stage, he was sharp, business-savvy, and fiercely traditional, a man who knew exactly what the audience wanted. And when he met a young woman from Tennessee named Dolly Parton, he immediately recognized something extraordinary in her. When Dolly was brought in to replace beloved singer Norma Jean on the show, fans were outraged. Some booed her during performances, others sent angry letters, refusing to accept the change. But Porter stood firm, insisting Dolly stay. And Dolly, graceful yet determined, didn't let the backlash break her. She kept her head high and focused on proving she belonged. It didn't take long for their partnership to explode with success. Their voices blended perfectly, their chemistry was electric, and together they created a string of top 10 hits that made them one of the most adored duos in country music history. On camera, they seemed inseparable, smiling, playful, and perfectly in sync. But behind those smiles, cracks had begun to form. The problem? Porter didn't just want to sing with Dolly, he wanted to control her career. He managed her schedule, chose the songs they recorded, and made nearly all of the key business decisions. But Dolly Parton, fiercely independent, ambitious, and confident in her own vision, was not someone who could be controlled. And soon, what began as a legendary partnership would spiral into one of the most turbulent breakups in country music history. Dolly Parton was never just a pretty face with a sweet voice. She was a gifted songwriter, a visionary, and a woman who knew exactly what she wanted. Her ambitions reached far beyond duet albums and television appearances. For years, she continued working alongside Porter Wagoner, but as her fame grew, so did her longing for creative freedom. Eventually, the routine began to feel suffocating, and Dolly started writing songs that no longer fit the mold of Porter and Dolly. What she wanted was simple: to have control over her own voice and artistic direction. But that was something Porter struggled to give her. Dolly later admitted that he had a hard time seeing her as his equal. In the beginning, he had given her a platform to shine, but over time, that platform started to feel more like a cage. Still, Dolly didn't walk away right away. She knew she owed Porter a great deal and tried to make the partnership work. But by 1973, the tension between them had reached a breaking point. A year later, in 1974, Dolly finally made the difficult decision to leave the Porter Wagoner show. To the public, it seemed like a peaceful parting, but behind closed doors, the truth was far more complicated. 5 years later, Porter returned, not with a song, but with a $3 million lawsuit. He accused Dolly of breaching their contract, demanding payment for management fees, production costs, and a share of her post-show earnings. For Dolly, it was a devastating blow. The man she had once considered a mentor and a crucial part of her early success had now turned against her. The conflict quickly grew messy, spreading through the press and stirring up endless rumors in the music industry. But true to her character, Dolly Parton refused to fight dirty. She handled the situation quietly, settling the case out of court, closing one of the most painful chapters of her life, and in doing so, stepping into a new era of independence and triumph. Later, Dolly Parton revealed that she never wanted to fight Porter Wagoner. All she truly wanted was freedom. Yet their parting left her emotionally and mentally exhausted. Porter had played a major role in launching her career, and despite how things ended, Dolly still held a deep respect for him. Together, they had created a golden chapter in country music history. But tragically, he couldn't let her go without a fight. In one interview, Dolly opened up, "When I told Porter I wanted to leave the show, I promised I'd stay 5 years. Then it became 6, then 7. He had such a hard time with it because he knew my leaving would mess up his show. We were so bound together emotionally, and he just couldn't accept it." Those few words said it all. Their conflict was never just about business. It wasn't about money, it was about emotion, pride, and two souls who had once been deeply intertwined. The feud revealed a side of Porter Dolly had never seen before, and it broke her heart. Still, time has a way of softening old wounds. By the late 1980s, after years of distance and silence, the two slowly began to reconnect. Then, in 2002, Dolly did something no one expected. She personally inducted Porter Wagoner into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Standing on stage, her voice trembling with emotion, she spoke about how much he had meant to her, even through the hardest of times. When Porter was hospitalized with lung cancer in 2007, Dolly visited him. Just a few weeks later, he passed away. Dolly was heartbroken. She held a private memorial concert at Dollywood, not for publicity or applause, but as a farewell to the man who had once helped her dream take flight, even if he had also tried to hold it back. The story of Dolly Parton and Porter Wagoner remains one of the most emotional and defining chapters of her career, a story of friendship, heartbreak, forgiveness, and the strength to move on, one that shaped Dolly into the legend she is today. But the story didn't end there. The next name on Dolly Parton's list didn't just hurt her, she shocked the entire music world. This time, it was Dolly Parton versus Linda Ronstadt. Along with Emmylou Harris, they were hailed as the ultimate dream team, three powerhouse voices who joined forces to create the legendary trio album. Their harmonies were pure magic, blending so beautifully they could give you chills, the kind of sound that never fades with time. But behind the studio doors, things weren't nearly as perfect as they seemed, especially between Dolly and Linda. What started as a relationship built on admiration slowly turned into an unspoken rivalry. By the mid-1970s, all three women were already stars in their own right. They respected each other deeply and shared a dream of making something extraordinary together. Yet busy schedules and record label conflicts constantly got in the way. It wasn't until 1987 that trio finally saw the light of day, and it was an instant success, a platinum record, a chart-topping hit, and a Grammy Award to seal the deal. On the surface, everything looked perfect. But inside the recording studio, the tension was thick. Dolly, known for her fast, spontaneous style, could record a song in just 1 or 2 takes. Linda Ronstadt, however, was a perfectionist. She would spend hours perfecting every tiny detail. Emmylou Harris often found herself playing the role of mediator between the two. Later, Dolly admitted that working with Linda sometimes felt like dealing with a studio diva who needed everything to be flawless before moving on. There were moments when Dolly said she wanted to scream out of sheer frustration. Their creative approaches clashed constantly, and everyone around them could feel it. Still, the trio decided to reunite in 1994 for Trio 2, but once again, record label politics and scheduling conflicts delayed its release. The album wouldn't come out until 1999. When Trio 2 finally dropped, the music was as stunning as ever, but the friendship was gone. The bond that once tied Dolly and Linda together had unraveled. What began as mutual admiration and healthy competition had turned bitter. By then, Linda Ronstadt was openly voicing her frustration, calling Dolly unreliable and difficult to work with. Their collaboration had made history, but it also left behind a trail of hurt feelings and unhealed scars, marking one of the most complicated friendships in country music. Linda Ronstadt never held back when it came to talking about Dolly Parton in interviews. She openly admitted that working with Dolly wasn't easy. In fact, it was often downright frustrating. According to Linda, Dolly would cancel recording sessions at the last minute or arrive late, leaving everyone waiting. She claimed Dolly was almost never on time and sometimes seemed a little flaky, which made the collaboration far more difficult than she had expected. But the tension went deeper than just scheduling issues. Linda felt that Dolly didn't fully respect the effort and dedication that went into the project. She believed Dolly was more focused on her solo career than on the group's success, a mindset that created resentment and eventually fractured their partnership. In the end, Linda made it clear she had no intention of working with Dolly again. She even said that Dolly's lack of professionalism had ruined what should have been a fun and creative experience. Still, as time passed, the anger began to fade. Neither woman ever publicly apologized, but they also didn't continue their feud. The fire cooled, yet the distance remained. Even so, there was always a sense of unspoken awkwardness between them. Neither ever truly forgot what happened, and while they weren't openly hostile, they also didn't try to rebuild their friendship. The Trio project remains one of the most iconic collaborations in country music history, but behind those flawless harmonies were emotional cracks that never quite healed. And just as that chapter with Linda came to a quiet end, a new one began. This time, Dolly found herself face-to-face with Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. Two American legends, two musical icons, nearly came together for a collaboration that could have changed history. But instead, it ended in a clash over one unforgettable song. It all began with Dolly Parton's timeless ballad, "I Will Always Love You." Written in 1973, the song came straight from her heart, a bittersweet farewell to her longtime mentor and partner, Porter Wagoner, as she decided to break away and follow her own path. It wasn't just a love song, it was a piece of Dolly's soul, filled with gratitude, heartbreak, and the courage to move on. When the song was released, it became an instant hit, cementing Dolly's place among country music's greats. But what she didn't expect was that Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, had fallen in love with the song too, and wanted to record it. By the mid-1970s, Elvis was still one of the biggest forces in music, famous for taking other artists' songs and turning them into instant classics. Naturally, Dolly was thrilled at the idea, until she learned the catch. Elvis's notorious manager, Colonel Tom Parker, made a demand. If Elvis was to record the song, he would have to own 50% of the publishing rights. It was a deal most artists would have accepted without question, but not Dolly. Though she was still building her name as a songwriter at the time, she already knew her worth. Standing firm, she told Parker, "This is the most important copyright in my entire publishing company, and I can't do that." It was one of the hardest decisions of her career. Dolly later admitted she cried all night after turning Elvis down. She adored him, and the thought of hearing him sing her song would have been a dream come true. But she also knew the deal was unfair, a trap disguised as an opportunity, and that if she compromised once, she'd lose control of her art forever. According to Dolly, Elvis was deeply disappointed. He had truly loved the song and wanted to make it his own. Though he never confronted her, Dolly could feel the change between them. She later described Elvis as a sensitive soul, someone who felt hurt even when he didn't show it. In the end, however, Dolly's decision proved to be the right one. Years later, Whitney Houston's powerhouse rendition of "I Will Always Love You" became one of the biggest songs in music history, introducing it to a new generation and earning Dolly millions in royalties. Though it broke her heart to say no to Elvis, Dolly has never once regretted her choice. Turning down the king of rock and roll wasn't just about business, it was about integrity, self-respect, and believing in her own worth. But if you think Dolly Parton always handled drama with a smile, think again, because in 2008, one man managed to push the Queen of Country to her breaking point. Howard Stern, a name synonymous with boldness, controversy, and a complete disregard for boundaries. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, The Howard Stern Show became a cultural phenomenon, adored by fans for its raw honesty, yet condemned by critics for its vulgarity and offensiveness. To many, Stern was the man who said what others wouldn't dare to. But to others, he was the embodiment of going too far. And in 2008, he crossed a line that shocked everyone, by targeting one of America's most beloved icons, Dolly Parton. In a disturbing on-air stunt, Stern's team spliced Dolly's real voice from her audiobook My Life and Other Unfinished Business to create a fake interview. The result made it sound as if Dolly was saying obscene, racist, and deeply offensive things. They even used her voice to mock fellow artists like Kenny Rogers and Linda Ronstadt, and to make crude jokes about her own body. To Stern's crew, it was comedy. To the world, it was cruel and disgraceful. For once in her career, Dolly Parton broke her usual calm and spoke out, heartbroken and furious. In a rare public statement, she said, "I have never been so shocked, hurt, and humiliated in all my life. I cannot believe what Howard Stern has done to me. In a blue million years, I would never have such vulgar things come out of my mouth." She called the segment vile, even hinting at possible legal action. If there was ever going to be a lawsuit, it's going to be over this. The backlash was immediate. Fans rallied around her, country radio stations and industry peers voiced their outrage, and even people outside the country scene stood by her side. But Howard Stern didn't apologize. He laughed it off, saying people were too sensitive and that it was just satire. For him, it was entertainment. For Dolly, it was a deep personal wound. After the ugly incident in 2008, Dolly and Stern went their separate ways. True to her nature, Dolly took the high road. She didn't attack him in interviews, didn't seek revenge. She simply moved forward, letting her grace speak louder than any headline. Yet, the shadow of that controversy lingered, until an unexpected twist in 2023. 15 years later, Dolly stunned fans by appearing on The Howard Stern Show for the very first time. No one ever imagined she'd set foot in that studio again, but Dolly had a mission: to promote her new rock album, Rockstar, and to show, once again, that she wasn't afraid to defy expectations. To everyone's surprise, Howard Stern was respectful. He praised her as a legend, complimented her energy and timeless voice, and, for once, held back his sarcasm. Still, the tension was palpable. It was clear Dolly wasn't there for reconciliation. She was there for business. And once again, Dolly Parton reminded the world what true grace looks like. She didn't rehash the past or reopen old wounds. She simply rewrote the narrative on her own terms. Proof that real strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it simply smiles, stands tall, and moves on. Then came Jeff Tweedy, the frontman of Wilco, a man celebrated for his poetic lyrics and indie edge. It's not often that anyone dares to criticize Dolly Parton, one of the most beloved and respected artists in music history. But Tweedy, known for speaking his mind, did exactly that, and his words quickly set the internet ablaze. In an interview that raised more than a few eyebrows, Tweedy acknowledged Dolly's legendary status, but then dismissed her songwriting as too simple and superficial. According to him, her lyrics lacked the emotional complexity found in more abstract, introspective writing. He admitted that Dolly had a gift for melody, but suggested her success was more about charisma and image than lyrical depth. Then came the jab that fans would never forget. Tweedy said, "I love Dolly Parton. I know she wrote Jolene and I Will Always Love You on the same day, and I think she should have stopped after Jolene." It was meant to sound clever, but to Dolly's loyal fans, it felt like an insult to everything she'd built her career on. While there's no record of Dolly firing back, sources close to her said she was deeply disappointed. For Dolly, songwriting isn't about fancy metaphors or abstract emotion, it's about truth. Every lyric she's ever written comes from her own life, her struggles, and her heart. To have that questioned by another artist, even one she respected, must have stung. But, in classic Dolly Parton style, she stayed silent, not out of weakness, but out of grace. She's never needed to defend her art. Her songs, from Coat of Many Colors to 9 to 5, Here You Come Again to Jolene, speak for themselves. They've touched millions, transcended genres, and stood the test of time. So while Jeff Tweedy's comments sparked headlines for a week, Dolly's legacy has lasted for decades. She's outlasted every feud, every critic, and every controversy with a smile and a song. Because that's what makes her truly untouchable, not just her talent, but her heart. So, what do you think? Which of these moments left the biggest mark on Dolly's incredible journey? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you love uncovering the untold stories behind music's greatest icons, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss what's next.